Hello, my royal lovelies. Welcome back to the channel, and of course, welcome to my home. I am back. Yes, sun, sea, sand, and you know what? It all went on whilst I was in the Caribbean, I must say. Anyway, we are back, and I do have a few stories that I need to talk to you about today. And of course, jewellery within the royal family is symbolism. So that is what I am doing today. I am wearing the Brazilian aquamarine tiara because of the proximity in the Caribbean to Brazil. Obviously a lot closer than here in the UK. And the aquamarine ring that was owned by Diana, now in the possession of the Montecito monster. So let's, without further ado, get into the main topic of today, and that is the joyous, fantastic news that the Princess of Wales, Catherine, has returned home. Some people have been saying she has been released from hospital, which I think is a little bit of a weird terminology to use. It's like she was being held prisoner. She was not being held prisoner. She was recuperating from abdominal surgery, which she underwent around about 2 weeks ago whilst I was in the Caribbean. So if you haven't seen my live chat that I made on board Virgin Voyages Valiant Lady, then do go and check that out. Thankfully, we had really good Wi-Fi whilst I was away, so I was able to keep abreast of all the royal goings on. But I am back and we resume our normal form of video. So the Princess of Wales has been released. There was a statement today from Kensington Palace, and I will read that right now. The Princess of Wales has returned home to Windsor. Of course, we're talking about Adelaide Cottage. To continue her recovery from surgery, she is making good progress. The Prince and Princess wish to say a huge thank you to the entire team at the London clinic, especially the dedicated nursing staff for the care they have provided. The Wales family continue to be grateful for the well wishes they have received from around the world. Okay, let's break down this statement and discuss it as I normally do. So she's returned home to Windsor. We know that she hasn't gone anywhere else. Of course, her other homes include Anmer Hall in Norfolk, which would have been, I think, a fairly good retreat. But their main home, as we know, is Adelaide Cottage at Windsor. And of course, because of it being term time, I think that is why she returned to Windsor, so that she can be around the children while they go to school. So it makes sense to return to Adelaide Cottage above all of the other options that she had available. And I do think it's important to note that she will receive the best of care since she has come out of hospital. Adelaide Cottage will be set up. She will have whatever she needs. She will have all the health visits that she may need. She will be treated like the princess that she is, of course, the Princess of Wales. And it must be really, really joyous to be home. I mean, being away from home, being away from work, being away from your husband, being away from your children, the home life, the hubbub of the home must have been a struggle. And we know that she was visited by His Majesty the King before he went in for his surgery. We'll be talking about that separately in a little while. And of course, she's been visited by husband William. And I would imagine that Queen Camilla probably popped in as well, because she has been at the London clinic quite a lot within the last few days. So I think she will have had lots of visitors, including her own family, the Middletons. She is making good progress. Now, I think that is an important phrase. She's not completely over it. She's making good progress. It's not going in the wrong direction, but it is going in the right direction, however slowly that might be. Now, of course, not knowing at this stage exactly why she is in hospital, it's a little bit ambiguous, because we don't know whether or not the length of time that she was in hospital was normal, and we don't know what the recovery time is for whatever abdominal surgery she has gone in for. So that means we have got to take that at face value for the moment. But it is good news. Now, I think acknowledging the hospital, now this is a private clinic, it will have cost thousands and thousands and thousands for the Princess of Wales to have had the surgery and then stayed in as long as she has done. Of course, mere mortals like you and I cannot just, sell an aquamarine to fund a private stay in a hospital. In the UK, we have really good healthcare. Obviously not without faults, but most people would be put on a waiting list, paying privately, you get in and you have the best of treatment really, really, really quickly. You are not put at the back of some waiting list. So she will have had absolute amazing care. And of course, they wish to thank the staff for that. I think it's also important that they acknowledged the well wishes from around the world, the global well wishes. And it just goes to show how many people really do appreciate the royal family, but also the Prince and Princess of Wales, and the Princess of Wales in this case in particular. It shows that she does resonate with people all around the globe, and that when, push comes to shove and, hits the fan and she is down, that people will rally around her at this sort of time. So yes, I think it's really fabulous news that she is out. I'm just trying to see if there was any other... Yes, it was 14 days ago. So they did say that she was going to be in sort of 10 to 14 days. It was the full 14 days, which I think goes to show the scale of whatever the issue was, that it wasn't just something really, really minor, that it was something that has some substance to it. Now, the media is understanding that the return to official duties will depend on medical advice closer to the time. And of course, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, will return to public engagements once she is settled. So it's not saying that William will have the same time off as Catherine. I think once she is settled back at home into a routine of some sort, then he will resume his public duties. So we don't know when that will be. And I think they are sticking pretty much to the initial statement that they made before, when she went in for surgery, that it will probably be, all being well, round about Easter or just after Easter when the princess returns to duties. However, we do expect her to return to, all the planning and the meetings and that kind of thing behind the scenes. I think what we're talking about is the actual physical in-person public engagements. So I don't think we will see Catherine for a little while. Maybe at some point we may get a photo. I'm hoping maybe there could be some kind of photo or, some kind of update in between now and then, because of course, in between now and Easter is, not a completely short time. It's not a million miles away, but I think to have sort of no further health update on Catherine would cause a little bit of panic and a lot of speculation online. We all know what the people on X might be saying if there is no communication. So I do think that some proportional communication, health update along the way would be good. Maybe even a little video or something of that nature. Okay, so now I want to talk about the King, who at this point of making the video has spent his third night in hospital. Now, I think when we all heard the news about the King going in for this planned routine prostate surgery, we all thought maybe it would be a day, an overnight, but it has been 3 days. So this is routine surgery. It's not for anything that has any further complications, but he is recovering. Now, obviously, the King will probably not be returning to in-person engagements until he feels that he's able to do so. I think whilst he is in hospital, his red boxes of official work, paperwork, has ceased, and he will resume those duties as soon as he returns back home, wherever that might be. It could be Clarence House, it could be Windsor, it could be Burgled in Scotland, or he could return to Norfolk at Sandringham. At this point, we do not know. But the King is still down and out of physical action. But he will return to duties. Now, Queen Camilla, I have to talk about this because obviously she has been in and out and in and out and in and out of hospital visiting him. When previous members of the royal family, including the Queen or the Duke of Edinburgh, have been in hospital, they receive a few visits, but this is quite unprecedented in terms of a Queen consort or any consort of a monarch going in and out and in and out several times a day, it seems. So Camilla, the Queen, is absolutely, I mean, this just proves that she's absolutely 100% dedicated to her man. Her man is down and she is going to be there. And also, I think it goes to show how much of a rock and how much support the Queen, Camilla, actually is to His Majesty. We've all known for years and years and years that she has been his strength and stay. She has been the non-negotiable part of his life. When the chips were down, she was there to help support. She is not as, I suppose, emotionally needy as the king. I think the king does need a lot of attention, and she is there to provide that. She has done, she has happily, gladly done for decades and decades. So it makes no surprise that she is needed in that capacity when the king is down and recovering from his operation. But I didn't expect her to be literally in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. I mean, can you imagine? What did she bring him? I would imagine rather than grapes and magazines. I mean, what were they doing when they were in there? Who knows? Who knows? What goes on at the London clinic stays on in the London clinic. But I would imagine that the Queen also visited the Princess of Wales before she was out as well. So she will have had a good stream of visitors. And the King was said to have visited the Princess of Wales as well before he went in for his operation. So yes, it just goes to show how valuable the Queen is as a consort. You know, yes, she's not Queen Regnant, in the same way that Queen Elizabeth II was Queen Regnant, but she has a vital supporting role. And it makes me look at supportive roles in a whole new way. Because just because you are not the main centre stage, just because you are not the sovereign or the next in line, does not mean to say that having a supportive role is not vitally important to the success and the well-being of the monarchy in general. I mean, at the moment, Queen Camilla, with the Princess of Wales out of action, the Prince of Wales kind of out of action, the King out of action, the Queen is actually holding pretty much everything together, along with the likes of Princess Anne and Prince Edward and the Duchess of Edinburgh. But the Queen is the one that is holding everything together. We have not had to invoke at this stage the councillors of state in terms of Prince Andrew or Prince Harry. There has been sufficient provision. And I think that is really good news as well, that the changes that were made to the councillors of state have worked. They have provided the stability and the continuity that we need. Although, you know, it does still highlight the fact that we are very monarchy light at the moment. And by monarchy light, I mean members of the working royal family who are carrying out royal duties on behalf of the nation. I still think that that drastically needs looking at, and I would urge the King, once he has returned to, you know, his normal schedule and routine, to really take a look at monarchy and the scale and scope of it, and actually really come up with a mission statement. I think a new mission statement that actually kind of says where the monarchy needs to be, what direction, what fields they should be working in, how in depth the monarchy particularly should go. So going back to the Queen visiting the King, yesterday I do believe she was there. She arrived at midday and was there for about 3 hours. My goodness, that was quite a long visit. And then I do believe that she returned again a couple of hours later. So she has been there, you know, through thick and thin, and she remains of course, at the king's side. And she must be so pleased that he is now home. And so must he. So I would like to, on behalf of all of you and myself, I would like to wish the Princess of Wales and the King a very speedy recovery. Okay, so next I want to speak about all those robberies and burglaries that have been going on amongst celebrities and really wealthy rich people in the area of Montecito. Now, we all know who lives and resides in those mountains of Montecito. The Montecito Monster and her ginger lap dog. Yes, that's who resides up there in Montecito. And it made me think, well, first for a start, they have their own security. So I imagine that they've probably beefed it up at the mere mention of all of these burglaries. And by the way, they were warned about these burglaries whilst they were at the One Love premiere. And I spoke about that in the previous video, about how disgusting it was cozying up with the Jamaican Prime Minister, who wishes to remove basically Harry's father as head of state. What a provocation that was to the royal family. But we're not talking about that today. But they were warned about all of these burglaries during that time. So I would imagine they would have obviously told their security that's there now. And they could possibly have even beefed it up. Now, of course, this comes off the back of having to pay or stand $750,000 of costs for withdrawing from that legal case. So it does make you wonder that, how much money do Harry and Meghan have? When potentially could the money dry up before they have to come up with some other dastardly scheme, probably using the royal family name and their royal family knowledge to try and spin their lies and trying to capitalise. Anyway, again, that's not what we're speaking about today. What I thought about was, of course, the jewellery. I don't really care about, anything that they've bought since being in the United States, or whatever they had prior to moving, whatever Meghan had personally acquired with her own funds before marrying Harry. What I care about is the royal family jewels, of course, Princess Diana's jewellery. Now, Harry and William would have divided up Diana's jewels. Now, we don't know officially whether or not that separation of the jewels has actually fully happened. We don't know where Princess Diana's jewels were being stored. We don't know how much of it has been separated and divided up. All of it could have been divided up equally, or there could still be the bulk of it residing in the United Kingdom. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but it's not what we know. I don't think anybody knows that yet. But what we do know is when we see either Catherine or Meghan wearing a piece of Diana's jewellery, or jewellery from her collection. Now, we saw on the wedding day this beautiful Brazilian aquamarine ring, of which this is a replica, being worn, flashed by the Montecito monster to all and sundry, so we could all see that she had some of Diana's jewels. Now, this is a really important piece. It's one of Diana's most kind of iconic pieces, and I was surprised that Harry sort of managed to wangle that one. However, we do know that William managed to get the ring, Diana's engagement ring, of course, and Harry and William did do a bit of a switcheroo from what they originally chose. Anyway, that's all in the past, and we've spoken about that until the cows come home. So we're not going to. But it did make me think about the vulnerability of Diana's jewels out there in Montecito. Now, they are not being protected by any royal protection officers, the British police. They are not protected by being on royal property. So they are vulnerable. And we do know that there have been, spates of jewellery robberies in Montecito. Harry and Meghan would be big targets. We also know from the past what happens when important jewels are taken away from the UK. The Duke and Duchess of Windsor had an array of royal jewels that the former ex-king took with him after the abdication, and there was a massive jewellery robbery. Wallis had all of a big chunk of her jewels stolen when she was in the Caribbean. So there is, it's happened before and it could happen again. If people are determined to get their hands on the jewels, then potentially that could happen. So the vulnerability, should there be a call for Meghan to return some of these jewels to the UK? Are the jewels safe? Should they be worn by Catherine instead? No. I think it's one of those things where if ever, important pieces of jewellery like this were stolen and then lost, it would be such an awful crime. It would be such a crime. And I would hate to see those sorts of pieces lost. In fact, I would have loved to have, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I would have loved for Wallis to have bequeathed her jewels instead of all going to auction. I would have loved them to have actually been bequeathed to Prince Charles at the time, to have then been worn by queens, queen regnants and queen consorts for future generations to come, because that would have ensured that Wallis would have had a connection with the jewels. The jewels would have been known as the Wallis this or the Wallis that, or the Windsor this or the Windsor that. So it would have ensured that the jewels would have carried on for generations and generations and generations. And I kind of think that it's the same thing with the Diana's jewels. Eventually, they could be lost, they could be sold out, in the same way that some of Queen Victoria's gemstones were kind of, given away or, left as inheritance, and then they were sold to pay death duties, and then they're sort of gone from the collection. I think it's very important to keep the jewel collections together. Now, I can just imagine Miss Markle, the Markle Montecito monster, being up in arms, absolutely outraged that she has not been burgled. I mean, just imagine the shame. Imagine the shame. All of her celebrity pals being robbed, and then she hasn't because no one cares. I mean, maybe people think that she hasn't got anything to steal. Oh my goodness, the shame. I mean, it's pretty much the case of like she might want everyone to kind of see that she's been burgled, so she can play the victim. So maybe she's hoping that she'll be burgled. I mean, she has been flashing jewelry over the past few years. Basically willing them to come and get her jewels. So yes, I think that Meghan is probably hopeful maybe that she could have some of these pieces. Oh, woe is me. I mean, how would that play into her narrative? Oh, I've been robbed. Oh, I can claim insurance money and I can get all of this and all of that. And yes, it would be she would be a nightmare if she was stolen from. She would absolutely be even more of a nightmare than she is now. Okay, so there we have spoken about the biggest topics, I think, of the day. Thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media. And of course, do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.